I'm Katie at the Fabric Squirrel, and today I am going to show you how I made my chevron quilt. So I'm calling it the Chevron Scrappy quilt, but I have made two versions of it. So this is my Scrappy version, and I made another one as well, which I will show you. So when I first made it, it was very experimental, and there was a lot of patching and things, so didn't take any pictures or process as I went along, although I'm really happy with the end result. When I wanted to recreate it, I was like, well, it seems a shame to use new fabric again to create the same quilt or to do the exact same one that I did. So I decided to just raid all of my scraps, well, a very good chunk of them, and create this quilt. So it tells a real story as well, because I can tell you why I have all of these fabrics and what they have all been made into. Um, it's one of the reasons I love sewing in cotton as well. I make most of my dresses out of 100% cotton, and it means that the leftovers can be turned into something like a quilt or a bag or a hat, which is what I made with the offcuts from this quilt. So I'll show you that at the end too. So it looks more complicated than what it actually is. None of these were cut into these sizes. They were all full bulk width strips, 2.5 inch strips, so like you would get a jelly roll. But some of them weren't quite long enough, so I sewed them together. So a bulk width is about 110, 112 centimetres long, and I made 24 for each direction, and I tried to alternate them dark and light. So I sewed them all together. I did it at a slight angle, so when I cut it, I didn't have lots of waste. Did this one at a 45-degree angle, and I'll show you this one now. So I did this one in the solids at a 60-degree angle, and I don't know, I think if I made it again, I'd probably go for this one. There's a few reasons. The quilting on this one, I just did on the grey and I did the zigzag. So the fact that it wasn't as steep meant it was much easier on my sewing machine, because it would have meant turning a bit heavier on this one. I didn't quilt it that way. I just did a few, like quite a large random free motion all over this one, because I thought, being a scrappy quilt anyway, you could have taken anything really. So yeah, I have videoed all the process, so I'm going to go and show you the process of how I made it, and hopefully you are feeling inspired and you give it a go. So I just wanted to do a quick video to show you how to lay out to get the most out of your scraps when you're come to sewing your rows together. Now we'll be cutting them across a 45 degrees angle. So on any quilting ruler you'll have these degree lines. So line up your 45-degree line of your top, and this will be where we cut. So if you stagger, work out how big this gap needs to be and stagger it, then that's going to be the only bit that gets chopped up. Whereas if you had these come all the way up here like you would normally, you're going to end up losing massive chunks of your fabric. So once you work out how big this needs to be, you could probably do it without pinning it, to save a little bit of time. When you've done that, you'll need to do it again with your other set, but do it the opposite way round. So this one's going this way, your second set needs to go this way. Quick video to show you it laying out in the opposite direction. This was the mistake I made the first time I made it, because I did both the same way, and it didn't work. So I had to redo one of the sides. So yeah, make sure you don't make the same mistake as me. Just line that 45-degree angle up along one of the straight lines and then butt it up. So we now have, well, I've done two pieces. This is one of them. I've pressed them. So I've pressed to the dark side, and now we need to make 6-inch strips. So use your ruler again, line it up on the 45-degree angle that's on your quilting ruler, and we are going to make as many strips as we can. with each of the panels that you've created. So that is the next step. You will need a quilting ruler and a rotary cutter to do this to be as accurate as possible, I would recommend, rather than using scissors. Right, so I have cut the two main panels into 6-inch strips and I have laid them out, and then this is now what it looks like. So I'm now going to sew all of these together. I am obviously going to lose a little bit along the top. You do end up getting a few little extra scrap bits with this project. So we'll sew these together now, and then we'll square it off, and then it's pretty much done. It comes together really quickly, this quilt, especially if you haven't used scraps and you've just used a jelly roll. It's a really quick project. The main top is now done and ironed, and I have just trimmed off the corners, so you'll get a few of these triangles at the end. Might try and make a cushion or something else out of the bits that I cut off. So yeah, that bit is done. I pressed the main seams down the middle open, just because otherwise they'll be a bit bulky. So I got a new collection of organic solid cottons, and that was the reason that I made this quilt in the first place, is I wanted a quilt that really showed it off. And I don't know, I think I did a pretty good job. I've backed this one with some Lewis and Irene, and it's I Love Quilting, so it's like a quilting theme. I have some more of this fabric left as well. I just thought that was really perfect, and I backed this one with parrots because I just thought it was really fun and a bit random, and it had a lot of the colours that featured in the quilt. The other thing I'll point out about this one is that the binding, I used what I had in my sewing box. So when I make quilts for keepsakes, I often have loads of ends of binding from making them, and I've kept them all, sewn them all together, and now it just felt really fitting to use with this quilt. So that was a great use of some leftover things as well. With the wadding on this one, I also patched the wadding. So I had two smaller pieces. I used some scraps of interfacing, almost like sellotape, tape them together to make one bigger bit. It's a hat that I use all the time, but I think it was worth sharing because this was just made from what I had in the sewing room, and I'm sure we could all put something together in our sewing room. So I hope you're feeling inspired. I'll go through some of the process now. Message me if you've got any questions, and I have written the blog and taken pictures as well over on www.thefabricsquirrel.com.